have a little bit of a talk and a meeting of the minds about things like unions and minimum wage, because that's another either hot or cold issue that people have going on, and there is color to it, which is part of the reason why I try to do these things here. And it runs the risk of getting me in some serious trouble with pretty much everybody. Because, all right, start with the minimum wage thing. The conservative argument is that if you raise minimum wage, really you could say raise wages, but raise minimum wage, that prices will go up. And the counter argument to that is they're already going up. The last time minimum wage went up, I think it's 2009. I'm not looking at it right offhand, but I think it's 2009. So you're looking at 17 years. So, are we to assume that nothing has went up in price in 17 years? Hasn't it? So that argument kind of goes out the window, unless they want to argue, well, it would go up even more. And then the funny thing is, those same people would argue, well, how many people you think are making minimum wage? So wait a minute. So you don't want minimum wage raised because then we wouldn't be able to afford things, because inflation would go up because of the increased wages. But at the same time, you're arguing that nobody's making that wage. What argument are you trying to make? Are you not even connecting the dots to the puzzle that you're trying to make? It doesn't make any sense. Try to connect one thought to the next thought if you're going to make an argument. But I will say, it's kind of funny, and I don't know if this is a counterpoint or not, it's just some details that I find is interesting. Here in East Tennessee, right up north there, we got Southwest Virginia, which is an interesting little area. Virginia would be a decent state, or at least that part of it would be. Except for the dumb sort of big brother-like laws they have there. They got a state income tax, and I don't know how much that affects. I know it affects a little bit. But they got these so-called bogus vehicle safety inspections, which are awful. West Virginia has those too. Need completely outlawed. Completely. Or at least turned into something that would help people instead of hurting them. Because that's what it does. I could do a whole video on just that. But the funny thing about it is their minimum wage now, I think, is like $12 an hour. Well, Tennessee's is the federal, which is $7.25. So you would think that there'd be a big difference in how much people make per hour gross in East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia, right? No. They make about the same, and again, Virginia taxes more. So, in a manner of speaking, it doesn't necessarily do any good. And also, you get taxed really bad federally. So I don't know what states do, but federal, I know I've always just gotten murdered by taxes. It's been, since I've been single, it has just been a slaughter every single year. I mean, right now they take about, in which it's 401k and everything else too. Well, no, that hasn't even started yet. Social Security, whatever they take without benefits, because my benefits have only just started at this job. They're taking about $240, $250 an hour just from me. And I'm not making $20 an hour. They're taking that just from me every hour that I work. And then giving me around income tax time, I don't get much back. I mean, how long would that take for me to make what I got back in my income tax? Let me see here. Which I didn't work just that job last year. But just basic idea. Yep. 70, I don't kind of messed up my math there. But anyway, I didn't get much back. I didn't even get $200 back. And that's still the most I've gotten back in a long time. So I guess the Trump people would brag on that. Oh, look what he gave. Really? What about all they kept? They kept a lot more than they gave back, I'll tell you that much. But it just shows you the minimum wage thing. I think it's sort of, because they hit you with both hands. People don't understand this. They vote Democrat or they vote Republican. And they don't realize they're being slapped. Every time they look at one, the other one slaps them. And they don't realize it. And then that one stabs them in the back. They're working in harmony to screw us up. Because, let's just put it this way. I'll give you one example. A little bit off topic. But there are places down south that you can rent for pretty cheap. It's getting less and less places. And you can, some few of them will actually let you have a pet. Some of them, very rarely. And they're hellholes. Nobody should live in these places. So it's the conservatives that are creating these places. They're home creators, just like they're job creators. If you alerted anyone to the state of those places, who'd come to the rescue? It'd be the liberals, wouldn't it? And what would they do? They'd make you homeless because they would shut them down. On one hand, rightfully so. On the other hand, they don't provide an answer. They make them homeless. At least you had a place to live. And I'm not defending the person who had those hellholes, but at least you had a place to live. If you're going to take something from somebody, you need to give something back. And that kind of plugs into the whole wage thing. It ends up being a situation, and I've even heard leftists and liberals go off on this, and this doesn't make any sense. It contradicts what they're supposed to believe in. Some of them, anyway. Because they're anti-corporation, right? Big corporation. Well, who can afford to pay increased minimum wages? Big corporations. They don't want to, but they can afford it. Who can't? Mom and pop places. That's by design. What really needs to happen is things need to be cheaper. If you're going to implement any sort of government control, I got a few ideas I'll throw out there, and I need to do specific videos just for this, but I'll give you a few ideas. Get rid of mandatory auto insurance if you have a clean driving record. Completely get rid of it. You can have it if you want to, but it's optional. You should not be forced to have it. It doesn't make any sense, and the more you think about it, the less sense it makes. I know some people, it's a shock to their system even hearing somebody say that. How does it make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. You're not mandated to have health insurance. You're not mandated to have some sort of insurance that if you're walking down the street, you bump into someone and knock them down and hurt them. Which ends up happening with a car, right? Let's say you hit somebody and it's not your fault at all, but you don't have insurance, you're in trouble. But if you're walking and you accidentally bump into somebody and knock them down and hurt them, you're not in trouble. It doesn't make any sense. It's just big corporations gouging people, and the government likes it because it caps people's income. It keeps people from getting any money back. It keeps the feudal system where it is. It's just a way of taking money from people to keep them from having it themselves. So that should go. Tags on the vehicle, that should go. You put them on there and you're done. For a certain amount of time anyway. That shouldn't be a yearly thing. That needs to go. Driver's license renewal, that needs to go. Lots of things. You can get rid of a lot of things. Don't need to be there. There's a lot of charges you get, believe it or not, on your phone. Like if you have a landline, you're being charged to have a touch-tone phone. Do you know that? Unless something's happened recently. They give you a surcharge for that. ATM withdrawal fees. You can get rid of, I guarantee you, if you hit enough, you're going to hundreds of dollars a month. Hundreds that are being taken from people that shouldn't be taken from people. Now, it's not going to be enough, but that would help. Uh, certain taxes and fees, just in general, should go. You can make a strong argument to get rid of land taxes, at least in a lot of categories. Certainly if somebody doesn't own a gigantic amount of land. And I know some people say they'll go the other way on that. Why hurt the person that owns the most land? Because they own the most land. That's kind of how that works. You know, if somebody's having to pool their money, everybody's having to pool their money for a situation. You can't ask for the same amount from people that's got 10 times as much money as the rest of them. That's not how that works. But there's a lot of things you could do to take the pressure off of people. And you notice no Democrats have pitched any of that, with a few exceptions. I think there's a woman running around Cock County, and they look closer into it, but she might be interested in getting rid of some taxes on some things. And yeah, she's a Democrat. Appears to be. I wish she's an independent, but she's got a bunch of good ideas. I think Monty Fritz has got some decent ideas, but he's so hateful about, seems to be, my interpretation, is he seems to be hateful towards anybody non-American or anybody that waves a certain flag, if you know what I'm saying, that has a bunch of colors on it. The one that would possibly have the same colors as something that is over the pot of gold. He seems to have some strong issues with people like that, and that's no way to be. And he's probably, I would assume by that, he probably has issues with people that are a different religion. Well, of course, only a certain religion. I don't know for sure, but it doesn't look good as far as that goes. But he does have some ideas as far as taxes and things like that go. So the wage thing, the money needs to go farther. Or there needs to be some kind of help for small businesses, because I've seen too many leftists and liberals that are like, well, if they can't afford to pay them, they shouldn't exist. It's a small business. Are you really for wanting to destroy all the small businesses because they're poor? I mean, you're propping up, by that, you are propping up the corporations. You are. You might not mean to be, but you are. And that kind of goes with the other thing, unions. There's a lot we can do with a real union. Because I tell you here and now, and a lot of people consider me to be anti-union. I'm not. The idea of a union is great. In practice, it's been garbage every time I've seen it. Every time I've seen it, personally. They will sell you out for that business, for that corporation. They're infiltrated. They will sell you out. To me, I consider the corporation to be the Republican Party and the union to be the Democratic Party. And the Democrats will feed you to the Republicans, just like Barack Obama fed the Standing Rock Sioux to Donald Trump. That's the truth. So, I think it's there, just like these fake progressives and this and that, and probably even to some degree Trump with certain people. They're there to stop a real revolution from happening. There's revolutionary energy, and they're there to be like, oh, I got it, don't worry. Let me do it, I'll take care of it. You know, it's like a bunch of people marching on City Hall, and one guy comes up and confronts them, be like, I'll go tell him your message, that's okay, you go back home. And he goes in there and smokes cigars with them. He's not there to help, he's there to make you turn around and go home. And that's what a lot of unions are. They're to stop a real union. Now, what would a real union be? It would be a general strike. Good example. I don't want to name any company. Seems like you go to Walmart, they're creating new tire names. So I can't even make up like a tire company or something like that. But let's just say there was a tire company that their company wasn't treating their employees right. Overworking them, underpaying them, things like that. A union in there would not help them as much as you'd think. They wouldn't. Wouldn't be real help. So what would my idea of a union be? Well, my idea of a union is the employees contact some people who are organized. And that brand of tire gets boycotted nationally, if not internationally. Way more powerful than a work union. Way more powerful. It's like, you do these people right, or we're going to cost you several million just this year. Just this year. We'll keep going until there's nothing left of you. And wherever your employees go, because we know your names, your bosses, wherever they go, we're going to know, and we're going to boycott that business. We will completely flatten you out until there's nothing left. Pick a bridge to live under, because that's where you're going to be. That's what you need. You need a militarized union that is not necessarily employed by that company. They can't fire them. They can't do anything to them because they don't work there. And they're not even in that city. They're all over the place. Just imagine that. If there was a Smith Tire Company, okay? Hopefully there isn't one with that name. Let's say Smith Tire Company was treating their employees bad. Well, the employees alerted the outside union, the internet, I don't even know what you would even call this. And then they alerted all their units in every state. And all of a sudden, Smith Tire sales started dropping. And they let them know they have a list of demands. As soon as they got the notice, they contacted the people and be like, you're gonna do what we tell you, or we're gonna send you a link to Arby's where you can start putting in applications. That's what's going to happen. So you're going to be broke because we will break you. We won't stop until we break you. We're not one person. We're thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe a million. That's what you really need as far as a union goes. You need international support. And one good thing I'm saying is on sort of a side note, it kind of lets you know that maybe some of this might have some hope of succeeding. Data centers. Or data centers, whatever you want to call them. There's a lot of people across the political sphere that really don't like them. I don't know what most people who are for them, I don't know where they would even, they're probably all across the political spectrum as well. But I can tell you that the ones that are against it, I mean, it's all over the place. Certainly a lot of leftists are against it. There's probably some liberals that are against it because of the environmental thing. For people not understanding this, you want to have an idea what a leftist is, and it differs from person to person anyway, just like a conservative would. You're not the same as the next conservative, right? But if you're a conservative and you're watching this, what's the difference between a liberal and a leftist? I mean, I could go on hours about this, but to give you a basic idea, a lot of leftists are not against guns. They're more for body autonomy. They're more consistent with body autonomy, where Democrats and Republicans are hypocrites about it. Body autonomy except for their complete body autonomy. They believe that society should take care of society. Basically, they don't believe in one person being a parasite off of the other. And they believe in the environmental thing too, but they're more rational about it. And I'm kind of speaking for myself a little bit here, because I'm big into older cars and stuff like that. I'm not anti-fossil fuels. I don't think it's a priority. If you're going to attack that, there's bigger fish to fry as far as that sort of pollution goes. So they're against it because when you have right-wingers, there's a lot of right-wingers that's against the data centers, because even they can see what it's doing. You know, it almost makes them look like tree huggers. I know they're not. I know you're not. But when the water all of a sudden is awful and you can't, it's ruining your day-to-day life, you realize it's stepping into your circle. You start to understand it. And that's why leftists have a lot of issue with it too. But, you know, they might take a step farther. Some of them kind of have sort of the liberal, you know, Green Party sort of thing with them too. And I do to some degree. I'm just not as hardcore about vehicle emissions and fossil fuels with the average person. But there's a big possibility of uniting between those people. I know sort of the muskrat type people are all for them. But this, it's kind of like the whole Israel thing, invading policies and politics and things like that. People are starting to get woke up to that. That's why society dedicated themselves to sort of perverting the term woke, because they knew this was coming. But people are getting woke up to that sort of thing. And they can unite on the whole America for America and not Israel. They can unite on that. And it lets you know that the political lines are not where you thought they were. Your enemy, who you thought was your enemy, is not necessarily your enemy. It's the person standing next to you. You thought was on your side, and they're not. Now, I could have told you this years ago. And that's the beautiful thing about being sort of politically homeless, because you can see both of them. Say if you're a Republican, that's all you're going to vote for Republican, and you might be reluctant about Trump, but you still vote for him because he's a Republican nominee. You're over here looking at them this way, and then you don't see what's happening over here. You don't see that, because to you, everything over on this side is wrong, maybe even evil and demonic. And so you don't see any color or complexion or plot or manipulation or anything going over there. So when it's happening to you over here, you don't notice it. But if you're standing way back like I am, and you can see both sides of it, and you're like, wait a minute, what they're doing to these people over here, they're doing to these people over here. And if these people didn't have their head up this butt, they could say, wait a minute. And you could say like, wait a minute, what they're doing over here to these people, you can just stand back and just be analytical about it. Don't worry about you think their beliefs are all wrong. Look what their leadership is doing to them and manipulating them, misleading them. Then you'll notice that your leadership is doing that. So it helps to be able to do that. We have a good chance of being on common ground, which means we can actually do something as far as wages go, building up small businesses, protecting our neighbors, becoming a healthier, more united society, and making our own sort of union. Because, union membership has dropped down anyway. And sadly, that's not as bad a news as it should be. It should be terrible news. But part of the reason it's happened is because they're selling people out. It's not just, Republicans, right-wingers are getting rid of their corporations. No, it's not just that. It's because the people that's been in them know what there is to them. And I guarantee you I have some friends that could watch this video and completely agree with me on that. They will sell you. They sold me out. They will sell you out. They've had stewards in one place I worked who this seemed like they're all fighting for you, and then a little bit later on, all these people would be getting fired, and the union's not helping them, just letting them go. Usually a little bit darker than I am. They'd find reason to get rid of them. And then that union member would all of a sudden get a supervisor job in the company. So he's no longer part of the union. Now he's a supervisor. Happened a lot. It just kept happening like this. It's a little bit too coincidental, if you ask me. So let's build a real union. We need to do something about wages for sure. We need to do something about reducing cost of being alive. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to push for. Make this money go farther. And yes, these independent businesses do need to charge as little as they can for their products, and they need to pay people as much as they possibly can who work for them. So it takes a village, so to speak. But that's just the beginning of some ideas there, and I think it's going to be a hopeful thing. Just a sort of nuanced view on minimum wage and what they're calling unions these days.